Staying with tech wars, an old one is resuming after a short truce. I'm talking about the chip war, the semiconductor battle between the US and China. We saw a truce in the month of May. The US decided to lift its ban on Nvidia chip exports, meaning China could now buy these chips. Just one problem though, China doesn't want to. Reports say Beijing has issued notices to local companies, to Chinese companies, asking them to avoid American chips, especially Nvidia and AMD. Don't buy them. That's what China is telling its companies. The obvious question is why? China had earlier slammed such restrictions, so why don't they want the chips now? We'll start with some background. The Biden administration had banned sale of advanced chips to China. They feared national security implications. So Nvidia crafted a workaround. They designed a less advanced chip, a chip called the H20. But Trump banned the sale of H20 as well. As a result, Nvidia was losing out on billions of dollars, almost $10 billion a year. So in the month of May, both countries reached an agreement. The US would lift the H20 ban. In exchange, China would export rare earths to the US. These are minerals used to build electronics. China controls them. So Beijing and Washington had a deal. And the Nvidia CEO was quite thrilled about it. He visited Beijing in July. He was all praise for China's tech scene. Then what went wrong? Why isn't China buying the H20? Reports hint at two reasons. Number one, security concerns. China fears the American chips can be hacked. Maybe they can be used to track locations, or maybe they have a kill switch. And in that case, they pose a threat, a risk, especially if you use the chips for government work. And we have seen such moves before. China had banned Teslas near government buildings. They also barred officials from using iPhones. Again, the concern was the same. American tracking and kill switches. That's what China is worried about. Secondly, Beijing wants to push its own semiconductors. It has invested a lot in this sector. Their chip mission is led by Huawei. Of course, they cannot compete with Nvidia's top models yet, but they can compete with the H20. And President Trump confirmed that on Monday. He called the H20 obsolete.
This is an old chip that China already has. And I deal with Jensen, who's a great guy, and Nvidia. The chip that we're talking about, the H20, it's an old chip. China already has it in a different form, different name, but they have it. Or they have a combination of two will make up for it, and even then some. But the H20 is obsolete. You know, it's one of those things, but it still has a market.
If you're China, this makes sense. A, you're not getting the top chips. And B, you have security worries. So why take the risk at all? Why not buy from local companies? But for American chip makers, this is a big setback. China has a huge market for them. They make up around 13% of Nvidia's revenue and around 24% of AMD's. Both of these companies were betting on new sales in China, so much so that they agreed on an unprecedented deal. These companies agreed to share revenue with the US government, a 15% cut to the White House. Let's say Nvidia made $10 billion in one quarter from China. This is revenue, not profits. Then the US government would have got a 15% cut. In this case, $1.5 billion. It's not clear if this arrangement is legally permitted, but if China does not buy, it may not even matter because no sales equals no revenue. Also, it raises questions about Trump's deal with China. He flaunted the mini agreement in May. His officials went to town with it, but looks like they made a concession that China did not even ask for. Naturally, Nvidia is worried. They have issued a statement on China's curbs. They say the H20 is not a military product, nor is it intended for government infrastructure. But will it sway China? A lot depends on the domestic market situation. Huawei is doing a lot of heavy lifting. If they cannot meet China's demand, Beijing will have to ease up. They'll have to turn to Nvidia or AMD. That's what the White House is also counting on. They say more revenue-sharing deals could be on the table.
Yesterday we talked about the Nvidia chips deal the president has struck, as well as AMD, the 15% stake that will go to the government. Going forward, is this a model that wants to build on?
Well, look, right now it stands with these two companies. Perhaps it could expand in the future to other companies. I think it's a creative idea and solution. The legality of it, the mechanics of it is still being ironed out by the Department of Commerce.
I guess this was to be expected. Trump's so-called mini deal in May was vague. There was no written account, no official readout, and certainly no legal treaty. It was simply a handshake agreement. Both China and the US had their own takeaways, and months later, we are seeing the problem. And this will not be limited to China. Most of Trump's so-called deals are vague agreements. Expect more of them to unravel.